Marathon is a new extraction shooter game from Bungie, the studio that brought us Halo and Destiny. And let's be honest, this game caused quite a stir in 2025. A weak alpha test, criticism from prominent streamers, and even an art theft scandal, and the stigma of a new Concord. And after playing the server slam of this game, I can say that I really liked it. I can already taste the angry comments. And I once shared that negativity. I too was disappointed with this product and thought it was destined to fail. But then, after 9 months of stagnation, when Bungie launched a new advertising campaign and showed off the work they had done to correct the mistakes, I relaxed my skepticism and thought that maybe I should give this game a chance after all. And at that moment, the continued amount of shit directed at this game ceased to appeal to me and even turned out to be the opposite. I felt like we were talking about different versions of Marathon, because I saw that the game had truly improved, that it had been transformed, that even a settlement had been reached with the artist whose work had been stolen, and yet people still didn't want to give the game even a shred of positivity. After the release of Arc Raiders, many became convinced that the entire Marathon was completely unnecessary and a failure. I, in return, after watching the recently released game Highguard, began to perceive people's statements as even more absurd. And I realized that I wanted to stand up for Bungie's new project, and that's exactly what I will do today. After playing 10 hours of Server Slam, I'm ready to explain why Marathon isn't Concord 3. Before we get started with the review itself, I should mention that all the footage you will see in this video wasn't recorded by me. Unfortunately, my laptop is a tin can, barely able to handle the game itself, and the OBS running alongside it proved too much for it. So the game was recorded through my best friend who I played with, and I want to thank him because without him this video wouldn't exist. So, let's get started. As mentioned earlier, Marathon is an extraction shooter. If this is a completely new term for you, the essence of games in this genre is that players appear on a map for a limited time, and during this time they must find as much loot as possible and escape with it. All loot is saved in the player's vault, and they can take the loot from it in the future runs, but death during the run means the loss of all items the player was carrying with them. You can die either from aggressive bots or from other players eager to see what so interesting is in your pocket. Character creation is also a typical feature of this genre. And in some games, such as Escape from Tarkov, character death during a run is permanent. However, Marathon took a different approach. Bungie decided to create several unique characters, each with their own abilities and roles. In the game they are called shells or runners, and their existence is explained in the story, but we will get to that later. There are 7 shells in total, 6 standard ones and 1 with its own unique feature. All the typical archetypes are present, including a tank, healer, a loot goblin, and so on. And unfortunately the loot goblin character wasn't available during open access. I mostly played the assassin shell, which is a rat attacking enemies with a pull-up, and I love that. After all, why would you rush in when you can carefully shove a knife into someone's back? This character's main ability is to enter invisibility for a period of time, but if you shoot someone or take damage, you will temporarily break that state. The ultimate ability, in turn, allows you to create several puffs of smoke, which automatically turns assassin invisible when you enter them. My best friend played the Recon shell, which focuses on enemy detection, and the ultimate ability of this shell allows you to scan the area around you, detecting all the enemies, including bots and players that are in this area. The 7th runner, Rook, deserves special mention. Rook is a special case. He doesn't have any unique abilities as such, except for the ability to become invisible to UESC bots. The key feature of this character is that when playing him, you're always solo. you can't take anything from your vault. And you will be joining matches that have already been going on for some time. However, the players in the match don't know how many rooks have joined the game, so there is still some intrigue. In one way or another, all the characters feel meaningful and useful. I can't say any particular shell is unnecessary or weak. It's more a question of ease of mastery and the benefit a particular archetype can bring to the entire group. Assassin is quite self-sufficient, intuitive and easy to play, as his whole focus is invisibility, while Recon is more useful for the entire group. The only character I haven't fully grasped is Vandal. The concept is clear to me, an agile character built around movement. But I haven't mastered it yet, and I haven't met many people playing her, although I suppose this is temporary and I just need more practice to get the hang of it. Speaking of practice, I suggest to move on to the gameplay and how engaging it is. I have covered the basics when describing the genre, but what do I think about it? Before I share my opinion, I need to add a little context. I love multiplayer FPS games. It's a genre that has been with me since childhood, specifically after my dad showed me Counter-Strike 1.6 when I was about 7 years old. I have tried various shooter subgenres: competitive, co-op, hero, battle royale, story-driven, basically everything. And here we're talking about the extraction shooter, and I must admit, Marathon is the first representative of this genre I have tried. Yes, I have always been rather cold to this type of game, and that was because it always seemed, well, how can I put it, pointless. You see, in competitive shooters you always have a clear and understandable goal that explains your actions. Often it's the need to fuck your opponents, either by completing a specific objective in the match or by wiping out the entire enemy gene pool. Battle Royale? Same story. Be the last one standing, or the last squad if you're playing in a group. Story-driven shooter, reach the end of the campaign, and so on and so forth. So, you know what I mean. In these games you always have a specific end goal that motivates you to keep trying, but that's not quite the case with extraction shooters. There you have to play and loot just to loot. Like, you don't even have to kill other players during a round, you can just loot buildings for 15 minutes and walk away with it. It sounded like a goal without a goal to me, like a vicious circle. That's what it was like for me for the first 3 hours of playing Marathon. It was fun, but I couldn't understand the meaning of it all. But at some point, after 5-game losing streak, my friend and I were finally able to take out the enemy squad and loot their gear during a round. And it was at that specific moment that something shifted inside me. A rush of endorphins and dopamine hit me, and I began to hope that we would be able to secure the loot. We didn't, but I still remembered that feeling and wanted to repeat it. And then, I couldn't tear myself away. I barely managed to force myself to go to bed because I wanted to keep playing. I suddenly realized why people like this genre at all. Because it's a casino. If you think about it, it really is. Just like in casino, when you enter a match, you make an investment, a bet in the form of your loot, hoping to multiply your savings. And so you try, you fail, you lose more and more, and at some point you realize you have already lost half your stash. But once your bet pays off, once, you will remain in this cycle for several more hours. The sense of excitement is heightened here like nowhere else, and Marathon delivers on that feeling superbly. The TTK is very low, the enemies kill you very easily. Those with steady hands and working mind often win, and I think that the first-person view is a plus. I haven't played Arc Raiders, but I imagine that the third-person view can offer an advantage and a great potential for rats who don't have much to counter. There are plenty of rats here too. There were times when a group of players would wait for us at the exit and, taking advantage of the element of surprise, would take out our squad. But I would say we are more to blame here, as we should have been more aware of our surroundings. The looting process itself isn't boring, as is typical of this genre, loot in containers, backpacks and lockers is gradually picked up rather than immediately. However, some items such as health packs and shields are picked up automatically if they are lying loose on the floor or shelves. All items are divided into categories. Some have no function and are sold automatically after successfully completing a run, while others already have uses, such as weapons, consumables, attachments, character upgrade modules, and so on. And while the looting process itself is interesting, at some point you begin to realize that the best weapons are almost never found in the basic crates, but rather in larger lockers and containers in the specific locations, sometimes dropped by UESC robots or usually by other players. So if you want to increase your chances of finding decent gear, you will have to get your hands dirty. Enemy encounters are engaging, both against AI and humans. The PvE content is top-notch, and the robots pose a significant threat. As far as I know, every robot in Ark Raiders is dangerous to the player in one way or another. But here the situation is a little different. One robot won't likely cause many problems, but a dozen? Believe me. Half of my losses were due to underestimating the local AI. They are very aggressive, and they won't wait for you to deal with them one by one. They will charge in, pop out from around the corners, hide and flank you. Basically, they will do anything to catch you off guard. All robots are divided into classes. There are regular ones, beefier ones with shields, there are mini-bosses, and there are big commanders who can only be killed by a well-prepared squad. As for fights with humans, I feel they go much faster than with bots. And that's understandable. If you are spotted first, and the enemies have good coordination and weapons, the chances of you going home within the next 5 minutes are extremely high. After all, in addition to visual detection, you can also be heard, and the sound is excellent here, no doubt about it. The sound has been very well designed. Every movement of you and your enemies will be clearly audible. Whether it's footsteps on the floor above, or gunshots tens of meters away, you will definitely hear it. You might even be able to identify the weapon by the sound of the gunshots. So the game rewards precision and slowness, but you do have to shoot occasionally. And the shooting here is enjoyable. Come on guys, this is Bungie. I think it was clear from Destiny 2 that they know how to handle weapons. I haven't played Halo, sorry. Wasn't really a popular thing in my country. All the weapons feel good, they recoil well, and they look appropriate for their type. In addition to categorizing weapons by type, they are also categorized by ammo type. Light ammo, heavy, electric, pellets and railgun ammo. And I propose we move on to the elephant in the room, the style. And what can I say? It's simply amazing. All these simplified forms, bright and contrasting colors are so imprinted on the brain and have such a distinctive identity that words fail to describe them. And what's most amazing is that everything, starting from the environment to the loading screens, look natural in the world and, more importantly, coherent. Nothing looks out of place here. I also really like the character designs. I understand they're quite specific, like everything else, but you have to admit, they look much more interesting than the character designs from Concord or Highguard. And getting ahead of myself, some people have been very critical to the visuals in Marathon, saying they are unpleasant and off-putting. One of my friends even said that he got a headache after 15 minutes of watching the game. I personally think it's subjective. Personally, I'm thrilled to have a can of multicolored acid constantly poured into my eyes. Don't try to help me. Trust me, I feel great. When it comes to music, all I can say is that I'm hooked. I've been listening to track Code Race on repeat for days, and I still can't stop. I think that music is also a big part of the local aesthetic, with all the electronic sounds and voices that have some ghost vibe to it. All of that does another important thing besides creating the tempo for the game. They personally interested me in the local world and motivated me to dive into its lore. And the lore here is truly remarkable, my respects. A separate video could be made. Marathon is actually an old Bungie series, pre-Halo, so there's a whole lot of history there. Which is kinda unique because, as far as I know, there is not really any extraction shooter with a deep lore. And yes, corporations, or factions. There are 6 factions available in the game, each unique and offering unique contracts. Yes, before a run you can take on a mission from a faction, and for completing it you will receive special rewards from that faction, and level up your relations with them. And leveling up with them makes sense because the better your relations with a particular organization, the more bonuses they will allow you to level up, and the better the goods you can get from them. After all, you earn money for contracts and selling items for a reason. If you don't have something, you can buy it from faction stores. One might sell consumables like first aid kits, another grenades, a third a certain type of weapon. So, which faction am I leveling up, you ask? Well, I have a favorite. There is a faction in the game called Arachne, which is essentially a death cult whose missions all revolve around killing enemies, both bots and humans. It's funny, before the game's release, people could join different factions on the game's Discord, and most people were drawn to Arachne, and I completely understand that because I'm part of the cult too. They are also the most stylish of all the organizations, in my opinion. and I got a cool background and stickers for their missions. So thanks to everyone who helped me to get these items. You're so kind. Okay, I have gone on a bit and it's time to justify the video title and explain why I praise Marathon and don't think it deserves the title of Concord 3. Look, for me, Concord was the quintessence of an originality, lack of vision, and a complete misunderstanding of the gaming industry. Every corner of it felt like the epitome of slop. And I completely understand why that game failed, and rightfully so. And in my opinion, a game can be called a new Concord if it meets the aforementioned criteria, including being a multiplayer AAA title. I completely understand why Marathon was perceived that way 10 months ago, when it entered alpha. Visually, it looked really bad, and the scandal with the artist really added fuel to the fire. But now, are you really saying that after all the work done to fix the gameplay loop and improve the visuals, Marathon still ranks on par with Concord? No, not even that. It ranks on par with Highguard, with that vague, grey, laughable piece of code? So you're telling me that this, and this are all the same thing? What were the complaints about Marathon? Its art style is ugly and gay? Guys, Concord style is ugly and gay. Okay, let's put it another way. Concord and Highguard were criticized for their style being uninteresting and forgettable. But honestly, is Marathon's style uninteresting and forgettable? You may not like it, you may find it too acidic and fucked up, but let's just be honest. It stands out from the two above mentioned games. You will immediately recognize it among other styles. What other complaints? Uninteresting gameplay? As I said, I haven't played other extraction shooter games, so perhaps Marathon is inferior to them, I don't know. But as a standalone game, it's good and engaging. Its gaming loop is addictive and has interesting mechanics, such as gradual decomposition of player corpses, which can help you figure out whether their killers are still nearby. Different classes provide scope for squad interaction and build development, as in addition to the usual passive character upgrades, you rarely can find some special upgrades for specific shells. Or from what I've heard, many weapon attachments in Arc Raiders, for example, aren't particularly original, while there are some very interesting ones here, like machine gun attachment that creates a shield in front of you when you press a button. But even saying all this, I won't pretend the game is perfect, it does have its flaws. Something every lazy person has mentioned, the interface. I find it awkward to have to carefully read 10 identical chips to figure out the difference between them. While I can somehow tolerate that in my vault before a run, I absolutely don't want to do that during a gameplay. Or the fact that almost no one uses proximity chat during the game. In 10 hours of gameplay, I encountered maybe 5 people who occasionally said something in the chat, but those were people on my team. I could never communicate with the enemy. On the one hand, this adds a certain level of tension, since the inability to negotiate with anyone automatically makes everyone your enemy. But on the other hand, it removes the element of social interaction for which the genre is praised. I understand there are questions about the game and Bungie in particular. Even I have some. I wanted a multiplayer game for The Last of Us, but because of Bungie, it was cancelled. I will never forgive them for that. But I can't bring myself to call their new product bad, stillborn, or unworthy of your attention. I will defend it and root for it to the end. And I think the time has come to draw some conclusions. You already know my opinion, but do I think Marathon is the new Concord? No, I don't. But do I think it's as groundbreaking as Arc Raiders? No, unfortunately not. One evening while I was playing Marathon with a friend, I asked him if he thought it was a new slop, to which he jokingly replied, "No, it's the new The Finals." And at the time I just took it as a joke. But only later, the next day, did I realize that damn, this analogy was incredibly accurate. For those unfamiliar, The Finals is the first game from Embark Studios, the creators of Arc Raiders. To put it simply, it's a competitive shooter with incredibly destructive elements, focused on capturing and defending specific points on the map, with the style of a virtual reality show. And this game didn't become the massive success that the studio's next creation was. It found a small but devoted audience and currently has a stable player base of around 13,000. And I think Marathon could be the same. Hell, it even has some similarities to the finals, in terms of its vibrant style and corporations you can build relationships with and get cosmetics from. It won't be a massive hit, as it's more challenging than Arc Raiders, and the mass market already has Arc Raiders. And it won't become hardcore standard like Tarkov, as Marathon is too easy for Tarkov fans. It will find its loyal audience who will love it. But I'm afraid this won't be enough. You see, the finals is still alive because it wasn't made by the biggest studio, and they can afford to keep it going, especially when they already have a golden cow. But Bungie's new game is a completely different story, since it was created with the support of PlayStation. Like, at the time of writing this script, the online Marathon has dropped from 143,000 to 61,000, and it was free. The game is fully released and became a paid title. And let's imagine that the player base is going to become twice less compared to Server Slam. That means it will only have a stable player base of 30k. Will the greedy PlayStation be satisfied with such numbers and willing to support these products for the long term? Only time will tell, but I really hope that Marathon still has a long history and that it's too early to write it off. Thanks for watching. This review wasn't very humorous and it got quite serious and a bit emotional towards the end, but I hope you found it interesting. The things I said in this video are very subjective, especially the comparisons to Arc Raiders, so if I have made any mistakes or you have any thoughts you would like to share, please feel free to leave a comment. I would like to once again thank my best friend for helping me create this video, and I would also like to thank someone named White Monster for letting me use his remix of the track from Marathon. I really liked his work and have been listening to it over and over again for days, so if you're interested, you can find the link in the description of this video. Thank you all again for watching, like and subscribe, and have a nice day!